All right. Good morning, Yuvi. How are you today?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing well. How are you, Sam?
I'm fantastic. So I've got your resume here in front of me, and I was really excited to chat with you this morning because not only do you have a very impressive background outside of HR, you also have a very solid 3.5 years working as an HR generalist as well. But let's start with what you've been doing most recently for work in the financial industry.
Absolutely. I'll be more than happy to discuss that. So, working for Capital One, I worked for their high net worth department, dealing with what they called elite clients or their high spender clients. Basically, these are the clients that whose credit cards were in the hundreds of thousands or millions. Most of them were business owners, but some of them were personal credit cards. And what I dealt with, I was basically the liaison between the client and the merchants that they would have chargebacks that needed to be filed, whether it was a dispute for service or merchandise that didn't work out for the client, or if the client's credit card had some fraud activity on the account. So I was the advocate for the client to make sure that whenever I file those chargebacks, I filed them. I was very thorough. That's one thing, because if you filed a dispute incorrectly, it could come back and it could be closed against the client's favor, which you, of course, don't want. All of our clients were important, from mainstream all the way to the elite clients, especially the elite clients. You don't want them to have a bad taste in their mouth about a call that they had with someone in our department, and whose dispute or fraud case was filed incorrectly. So basically, I was in charge of providing the best customer service to every single client that I spoke with on the phone, and to ensure that their cases were handled correctly. And I am very proud to say that in the 3.5, almost 4 years actually, that I worked for Capital One, I never had what they called a BI, which is a business intent. It's something that occurs when a dispute is filed incorrectly, and it all has to do with the regulations between Visa and MasterCard. But pretty much that was my day-to-day activities, just speaking with clients, the elite clients, and handling disputes and fraud cases.
I really like that. I'm very impressed by that background because it sounds like you take a lot of pride in the integrity of your work. Not that you wouldn't give the same level of service to any client, but obviously dealing with much larger numbers involved. I mean, it does take a different level, probably, of patience, and that VIP style treatment for all of your clients as well.
I love how you said the VIP. Yes, absolutely. I definitely ensure that all of my clients are treated as, yes, VIPs.
Fantastic. Now, you also have a very impressive background with a company, WRS, working in their human resources department on a management level. You were there for 3.5 years. Tell me a little bit about that position.
Absolutely. So that position came about because the CEO of that company actually met me while I was working as a teller for Bank of America. He was very impressed with my integrity and the way that I would help him and other clients. He was a regular customer of Bank of America. And after 6 months that I worked as a teller at that particular branch, I moved to another branch because I got promoted for a sales position. So I never heard from him again until I went to a basketball game. At that time, I had been promoted to a tele operations manager, which is the second in command for that particular branch. He was thoroughly impressed, of course, but he wasn't surprised. And he told me that he had been just recently hired. He's a business consultant, and his client was starting a new business. So it was a call center for debt collection. So his client would buy debt from large financial institutions like Bank of America or Wells Fargo, and he would sell that debt to call centers. He figured that it would be more profitable if he went ahead and collected on that debt himself. And so he started that call center. We started with 6 employees. Um, I was very honest when he offered me the position. I told him I have never worked in human resources. I have never done payroll, benefits administration. But he basically took me under his wing, and he was an amazing mentor. I do have actually a letter of recommendation from him if you'd like to see it.
Great.
And my role, I actually wore many hats because it was a small business. We started from 6 employees, and we ended up with over 300 employees in 2 different markets in Orlando, which was our location. And then we opened a second location in Overland Park, Kansas.
Okay, great.
And I was in charge of initially just getting people on board, trying to recruit agents, which debt collections is probably not something that everyone is looking forward to doing. So originally, we just wanted to make sure that we had agents that could collect on that debt that our client was expecting, for us to help him collect on. And so I was in charge of doing all of that, making sure that all of the I-9s were, I was the only one actually verifying all of the, pre-employment, getting all those applications, and ensuring that everything was within the operational guidelines of the company. Once we started to grow, they hired a insurance broker, and so we started to offer benefits to our employees. And I worked closely with MetLife and Aetna, making sure that everything was submitted on a timely manner. Timesheets, we partnered up with ADP. So we processed all of our payroll, our time cards, the finger. Actually, ADP did everything for us, from payroll all the way to, filing our taxes, etc.
Okay,
And
great.
so I was also the executive assistant for the CEO. I also paid all of the invoices from the rent on the building that we were on, the rent and all the bills for the other call center in Overland Park. And so I was the HR generalist. I was the executive assistant. I was
I love
mentor to, yeah. So I wore many, many hats, and I am
fantastic.
so glad that I accepted that position because I learned so much.
Fantastic. It sounds like you're very passionate about it as well. Also, now you've in it, with the exception of proprietary softwares that are specific to, say, Capital One or WRS, what other business softwares are you familiar with? Maybe even just as simple as the Microsoft Office suite or different HRIS software platforms.
Well, the ADP, it's one that I'm pretty comfortable, and I used it for the 3 years and 9 months that I worked for WRS. We didn't have a specific ATS system at WRS. Whenever we posted positions, we used Career Builder, LinkedIn, and for me, once we hired floor managers, they kind of took over about the recruiting of agents,
Yep.
and I would help with IT, with the accountant. So um, we didn't really have our
No,
own
that's
ATS system, so
that's
we used Career
okay.
Builder, LinkedIn.
No,
Of
but
course.
what computer software programs do you have experience with? Excel, Word? I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
what?
so sorry. Yes, absolutely. Of course. Yes. G Suite, Microsoft. Yes. Excel, PowerPoint. Of course, Word. Yes, I'm pretty familiar. I
Okay,
wouldn't say
great.
advanced, but I am absolutely. I've used them for most of my life, and I'm
Okay,
pretty comfortable. Mhm.
great. Yuvi, what's the most important thing to you at the next company that you work for?
I am looking for the company has to have the same values that I do. And what I loved about working for WRS was the fact that it was very entrepreneurial. It was something that I had never done before. And of course, work is work, family is family. But I really did feel in the time that I spent working at WRS that the community that we built, the culture that we had, it was just something that I was very passionate about. I would come to work just knowing that no day is going to be the same as the day before. Every day would be something different, and that is something that I really looked forward in a new company. I know it may seem like challenging, but I actually enjoy that. I enjoy the fact knowing that I'm coming to work. It's not going to be a repetitive. I'm not going to be an autopilot. I'm going to have challenges, and working with people in a collaborative manner. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm looking for tenure. I'm looking for growth, opportunities to learn, and that's just something that I really enjoy. And so, the next company that I join, I want to be able to allow the people around me to also grow. But I just want to be challenged, and I want tenure, to be honest.
Fantastic. Yuvi, I'm going to stop the recording and chat with you about a couple of positions if that sounds good to you.
Of course.